Hello and good morning everybody, and welcome back for another video of DIY investing. Altcoins have been popping off across the board recently. Is this reason to get excited, or should we be a little skeptical with the recent 2-year bear market decline that we've experienced thus far? Today I'm going to dive in. I'm going to show you guys all top 10 cryptos on CoinMarketCap. I'm going to give you guys some in-depth analysis with what I'm expecting with those so that you guys know exactly what I think is going to come with some of these high caps that generally lead the market first. You guys have been killing it recently with the likes and all of the awesome interaction inside the Discord, so thank you so much. If you're new and just finding this channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss any more awesome updates like the one in this video. If you guys want to see more of my awesome analysis, make sure you hit the invitation link in the description of this video, and there you're going to get access to my Discord server. Okay guys, let's jump right in the video today. Alright, so to take a look first, I think it's most important that we stop and take a quick glance at Bitcoin. Now, I'm not going to get into it. You guys, if you want a Bitcoin update, go and check out some of my previous videos because I've talked about this same setup for a minute now, and not much has changed. Same thing as before, descending resistances. I'm still bearish at this point, and it's looking more bearish as we consolidate. We're seeing Bitcoin drop here, and we're seeing altcoins starting to kind of rally. Now, generally that happens before a Bitcoin drop, and so I'm more bearish now than ever. I was already bearish just because of this descending triangle setup. I think it's more likely that we're going to come back down and retest this support floor, which I told you guys in my last update. If we come back down and retest this support floor, I would expect that to be really the last liquidity bounce before we actually sell through and hit my next two targets. So that's what I'm going to be watching out for with Bitcoin. Now, there's a couple scenarios that has to do with the altcoins. If Bitcoin sells through the support floor, what's going to happen with the alts? Well, generally, anytime Bitcoin has an extended sell-off, it bleeds the alts. And so what we could see is Bitcoin drop down to the support floor. Maybe that gives a little bit of relief into some of these alts. They make a nice parabolic run. And then when Bitcoin actually sells through that support floor, that could be people taking profits out of their alts and then actually just moving them into Tether as Bitcoin and the alts drop for one more leg lower. So it's just something to watch out for. If you're day trading, make sure that you're paying attention to taking your profits so that you're not stuck holding and bag holding into losses. Okay guys, so first up is going to be Ethereum. Now this is one that I'm really excited for. Had the pleasure to buy sub $200 level a couple different times. And so my bags are packed for the long term, and I am very excited about the way that this market is looking. Now, a lot of the top analysts back in the cycle high right here, they were saying that we were headed for new yearly lows, fresh lows. And then they were saying some crazy stuff like Ethereum was destined to like $50. And really, it was just kind of crazy to think that, especially with all the volume that came in. It seemed like your most stereotypical setup as far as disbelief, where everybody was still in disbelief. They were in denial that this thing can go up again. And now we're starting to see some nice volume. Almost more volume coming in now than even some of the cycle high volume that we saw back in here. So that's a very bullish sign overall. Really kind of what I'm watching out for with Ethereum. And let's throw up our Fibonacci here. With Ethereum, I'm expecting a pretty sizable bounce coming from this point. Now, the 618 takes us upwards of about $920. And so realistically, I think that we're going to hit upwards of that number. I think that my target for this next cycle is going to be $800 to $1,000, right in that range. I think that it's likely we're going to hit up there, mainly because of the fact with Ethereum, it's going to lead the alt season push. I think that with this next leg up, Ethereum is going to be that real driver. A lot of the money is going to be coming through Bitcoin, going from Bitcoin to Ethereum, and then from Ethereum to the rest of them. And that's kind of the way it's worked from the point in which I've been in crypto. And so I'm expecting that pattern to kind of play out again. Now, if we go back to Bitcoin, and let's zoom out a little bit, we're going to be able to see that Bitcoin's last run to 14K took us all the way up to here. And if we're comparing Bitcoin's run to some of these other altcoins, that would easily put Ethereum between $800 and $1,000. And it is even possible it could go higher than that, but I'm not going to write that as my probable scenario. I think it's more likely that we hover between the $800 and $1,000 range, just because that's going to be where most of our resistances line up, in my opinion. And so that's what I'm going to be watching out for with Ethereum. Now, overall, it just looks like we're just making our first little leg up, right? And then the next one will take us upwards of here. We'll probably consolidate similar to what Bitcoin did, and then we'll make the push up to that all-time high mark. And so I think that the altcoins are just slowly following Bitcoin. Bitcoin made its big leg up and that big push upwards of 14K, and the altcoins really lagged behind. And so I would expect alts to make that next big push as Bitcoin potentially makes another leg down and then makes its push up, or we could just continue into our final 5-wave push with that. So this is what I'm going to be watching out for with Ethereum. Overall, great volume. Very ideal disbelief scenario in my opinion. You can't really go wrong with buying support. Now we're actually impulsing out, and so I'd wait until we get a short-term reversal before I'd look to actually add to my positions, but it's looking very good. You can't really go wrong in this time. I mean, from where we're currently sitting right now to about $800 is roughly a 3x. And roughly a 4x to 1,000. So it's very good risk to reward still in this time. I mean, overall, we're still at such significant lows compared to, $1,450 Ethereum, in which we saw at the peak. So I think that now's a very good time to be looking to scale into Ethereum, but you should wait for the short-term retrace before doing so. Okay guys, next up is XRP. Now XRP, I actually bought some at 25 cents, and so I am sitting very pretty with my position thus far. Currently up about 24% from these lows. I also accumulated at 30 cents, and so I think my average position is about 27.5, or roughly about right here. So really I timed the bottom as far as averaging into my position as best as I possibly could, and now things are turning up. So I'm very excited about Ripple. Now you guys know, based off of my last couple updates with Ripple, with XRP currently, and we'll throw it to a log scale, this is kind of something that I've been watching for, and it follows along nicely with the last fractal that we saw with the bull market. Now we had this descending resistance, and technically you could still draw the descending triangle from here, but I don't like the symmetry of the descending triangle, and I think the market structure is a lot different from what we saw at 6K Bitcoin. But what we saw was this descending resistance. We broke out from that descending resistance with convincing volume. We fell back onto trending support, and now we're getting a nice buyback from that. So in my opinion, this is a confirmed breakout, retest of support, and now we're venturing back into that next bull cycle. Now this reminds me a lot of what we saw back here. In this cycle, I've made the comparison many times before, and you can watch my other XRP videos to see that. But we can see that we had this descending resistance in the last cycle. We broke out from that. We got our breakout in volume at the same time. Same setup. We fell back onto trending support. And then that was really what catapulted us into the next cycle. And so really, I'm expecting the same thing to happen. Now, it is possible we can consolidate here sideways just a little bit longer. This one really just exploded straight up. But the fact is, the cycles are exactly the same. We had the same descending resistance. We had the same breakout pattern with the same breakout volume that happened at the same place. So for me, I'm more bullish than ever on XRP. This recent buyback is just more confirmation that smart money is accumulating this, especially with the volume that we're seeing coming in here. So XRP's been one on my list for a while, and it's one that's got me very excited with this recent move back up. Definitely leading the market so far amongst the alts with Ethereum, and then also Stellar, Lumens, but Stellar and Ripple pumped together. Next up on the list is Bitcoin Cash. I recently just made an update talking about this. Now, in that update, I talked about how I was waiting for one more drop. We didn't get that drop, and we're actually impulsing out of there. So it looks as if the continuation has already started. Now, if we can clear this first short-term resistance at about right there and make a higher low, I would buy the retest of that support and resistance flip, and that's probably where I would scale in if I was planning on buying Bitcoin Cash, which I told you guys that I am. I like the volume. I like the symmetry of the market cycle. One of the most hated coins. Oftentimes, the most hated are the most profitable to trade. And so for that, I'm just going with what served me best in 16 and 17, and I'm just kind of riding with the same strategy. Now, Bitcoin Cash being pegged directly from the Bitcoin blockchain, being a hard fork, I think that it has a lot of profit potential for this next cycle. One of the safer coins that you could count on, just because I think Roger Ver is crazy as some of you guys might think he is, as ignorant and arrogant. He was one of the biggest Bitcoin supporters back in the early days, and so for that, a lot of people trust him. Now, even though he's flip-flopped and 100% started promoting Bitcoin Cash, I still like who he is as a person, and I think that he holds a lot of libertarian views, in which I agree with. Now, a lot of people won't agree with him, and I don't agree with everything that he says, but I do believe that he's got a pretty good case as far as pumping his coin. Now, Bitcoin Cash currently, this is basically the same structure as all of the other altcoins. And if I go over this list with you guys, you're going to see a lot of the same correlations. I mean, this one looks a lot like Ethereum. It looks a lot like Litecoin. The only difference being is it really didn't impulse super hard. It follows more like Ethereum. But with that being said, I think that since it's following Ethereum so closely, I think it's likely that Bitcoin Cash could see a lot of profit potential with this next leg up, and I think it could have a chance to really rival Ethereum with some of these higher gains amongst the higher cap coins. So this is what I'm going to be watching out for. Now, realistically, my next target is going to be here, which takes us to about just under $1,800, and I think it's realistic to see us hit this target. Now, it's very possible we could go even higher. We could hit upwards of about $2,400 or the first lower high that we experienced in the sell-off. And so these are going to be the targets that I'm watching out for with Bitcoin Cash. I don't really think you can go wrong setting a target for about right here, because I think that in this next push, it's going to get parabolic to the point that once we do find a short-term top, it should retrace fairly quickly, similar to what happened to Bitcoin. And so make sure you're setting those sell orders for catching the initial top with this next rise that I'm expecting to see. All right, guys, next up is Litecoin. Now, Litecoin, once again, similar tell. Only real difference is the fact that from the December lows to the cycle highs, this impulse was the biggest one amongst the alts. Now, reason I think for this is because everybody was buying up the rumor of the halvening. Halvening happened August 4th. It made one more leg down. I made my first buys for Litecoin at $69, and now we're currently sitting in profit from my entry. Now, currently what I'm watching for is another big push up. Now, the thing about Litecoin, guys, is that this, based off of Elliott wave theory, looks just to be the one wave. 1, 3, 5. Let's change this up a bit. This is just the one wave. 1, 3, and 5 impulse up. And now what we're working on next is the 3. Now, in theory, guys, the 3 wave is the most impulsive Elliott wave. In theory, it's not always. Sometimes the 5 wave gets overextended. But generally speaking, the 3 wave's the biggest. The most volume, the most hype, the biggest percent return on investment comes in this time. And so I think that it's possible that that's the one that's coming next. Now, there's a couple scenarios, but my wave count shows this being the end of the 1 wave before the 3 wave comes. I think it's really important that if you guys plan on buying Litecoin, it's important to scale in now, or at least soon. Wait for that short-term retrace similar to Ethereum, but this next impulse should be very big. Now, the volume that came in at the 1 wave was a key indication for me that smart money is accumulating this coin. Now, with all the institutional money that's going to be flooding into these markets, I think it's important to consider these high caps because those are the first ones that are going to get adopted institutionally. Now, they're not going to pick up your average 10 million market cap shitcoin. They're going to pick up the ones that have been around for the last 5 years, that have proven themselves. And so with that, you can't really go wrong buying Litecoin. I've made many updates previously talking about the halvening and why that's such a key fundamental principle when it comes to price discovery. And for that, that's my biggest reason for accumulating Litecoin. Because as far as risk to reward, I mean, me buying at $69, holding to all-time high is roughly 450%. Now, I could have done the same thing with XRP and then got 1,400% till that all-time high. But the reason for me accumulating Litecoin is the fact that we don't know exactly how high this cycle could get. This is a lot more of a risky bet, but I've known what happens to coins after halvening, specifically watching Bitcoin, and so for that I was willing to take a little bit of a calculated risk, buy some Litecoin, and then hold into this price discovery mania phase that we're going to see. Because guys, people underestimate the powers of a halvening, and now that we're having one of the top cryptos pulling one off, and has been since August 4th, you guys really should be considering accumulating a small bag at the very least. And so with this, I'm not really trying to calculate perfect Elliott waves, but I think it's possible with this 3 wave. Let's throw up some fibs and get some realistic targets here. Now, I think it's possible that we could go and hit this all-time high mark, and I think this 3 wave has the potential to break this all-time high mark. Now, if the 3 wave is the same size as the 1, we'll hit right here at this second resistance at about 220, roughly the same place as Bitcoin. But I think that we're going to see a little bit bigger of a 3 wave. Now, it's possible that we don't. There has been points and periods where cryptos, like XRP is a prime example where the 1, 3, and the 5 are all roughly the same size. And so we could see something like that, which would take us roughly $220. But for the most part, I'm expecting this next three-wave impulse to get a little bit bigger, which would take us close to that all-time high mark at roughly $320. That's the weekly candlestick resistance for the bodies. So that's what I'm going to be watching. Taking a look next at EOS. EOS is one that actually led the market with Ethereum. Now, I think the EOS is going to be a really well-performing altcoin, mainly because this is just a one wave. The next big market cycle should be the 3, and that's generally where the most volume comes into these cryptos. So EOS is one that's on my radar. It reminded me a lot of early day Ethereum, and you can even check back to the Ethereum cycle and see roughly the same. The cycle is different, I will admit. It's not the same in any sort of way, but it does show a lot of striking correlations. And now the fact that we're starting to see EOS rally with Ethereum is only furthering that that structure or that pattern that I have been noticing. And so Ethereum, or what I should say EOS right now, is roughly the same cycle as Ethereum, roughly the same cycle as Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash. This is disbelief. We made our first leg up, right? Now the next one coming is going to get impulsive, and I think coins like EOS that have only made one small market cycle are going to feel that 3-wave much stronger. And what I mean by that is what I was just explaining with Litecoin, how I think that the next wave in Litecoin is going to take us up to this all-time high mark or even break out of that. I think that EOS has a real potential to do the same. Being this is just the first leg up, and with these young market cycles, when the real impulses start, it happens so quickly that it will oftentimes just leave you thinking and wondering what the hell just happened. And so for that, I'm not writing off the potential for these alts to really pop and start breaking all-time highs sooner rather than later. I think that the later was this little leg up, and the sooner is going to be the next impulses that we're going to see from here. So with the volume that's come in here, we now have more volume coming in with this recent buyback than almost the entire cycle's highs volume that we saw here. And so key indication, smart money's accumulating. There's a reason why these are top 10 altcoins. They're the reason why they show the best volume. Money floods to these and then to the others. So with this, really I would, if I was buying EOS, I haven't accumulated any, but if I was a buyer and I had been a buyer and I'm a holder now, I would be holding this till past all-time high. I would say if you're looking for a short-term resistance to sell, I'd probably go with about right here. For a day trade setup, which would be about $15. I think that it's realistic that we hit that. I would personally, if I was accumulating down here, I'm holding for another year or two. That's the way that I like to trade. I know that I can catch the big picture trend and make way more money. Now, I'm not totally against day trading, and I've told you guys I do day trade sometimes. But for the most part, my biggest holdings and my most profitable trading setup is long holding the big picture trend. And so for that, I don't think you can go wrong setting some short-term sells, maybe about this $15 mark, maybe some up here at about the all-time high at about $18, somewhere right around there. I think that those are realistic targets to get filled if you're looking to scale out. Now, if you're someone that's looking to bag hold for the next couple years, then it's less of an actual price prediction standpoint. You're not watching where price is going, and this is kind of counterintuitive because a lot of what I do on here is analyzing price. But realistically, when it comes for my trading plan is actually built around a time frame. I'm watching the halvening, and I'm scaling out after the halvening. So that's the way that I structure my trade. It's not price itself, it's actually time frames. And so that's the way that I trend trade with my long-term bags. Now, price speculation is through technical analysis, and so if I'm looking to day trade, of course I'm going to be speculating on price. And I still speculate on price now, even though I'm holding on a time frame perspective. But with that being said, if I was holding for the long term, I think that scaling out after the halvening is your best bet. Maybe close to that 2021 mark, somewhere around those points is where I would be looking to do that. And so there's not really, I can't sit here and draw you guys price targets. I'm not going to sit here and map out some L8 waves like this and show it going like this and then go into $50 or something like that. I don't find that realistic because what happens, and I can point you back to how many different cryptos, when price discovery starts, no one knows how high these suckers are going to go. And so the best thing that you can do for a long-term strategy is hold based off of the fundamental perspective of Bitcoin being the halvening. Now, as far as just holding altcoins, Now, as far as holding altcoins, they're going to follow Bitcoin. So realistically speaking, I'm holding until the halving, and that's when I'm looking to scale out. Once these coins break all-time high and go into price discovery, it's impossible to predict the exact tops, and so you shouldn't be so worried about that. And that's why I'm much more focused on the big picture trend. I'll take a small percentage of my portfolio, maybe 20-30%, and then I'll start day trading when market conditions are prime for that. And that's the way that I trade and like to structure my investment strategies. So with EOS, the next wave up is most likely taking us close to this all-time high mark, could even break out of that, and we could see the early signs of some of these small market cycles, these early market cycles like EOS, starting to really lead the market, because that's generally what happened last year, or what I should say last alt season, was Ethereum was this young market cycle that led the pack. Now, still expecting Ethereum to lead the pack, still expecting it to do its thing, but what other altcoins, what other early altcoins are going to follow Bitcoin, or follow Ethereum? I think EOS has a prime opportunity to do so. Next up, guys, is Binance Coin. Now, Binance Coin for me, it's a little tricky because this one has so much incentives for you to continue to hold it that it really makes me wonder exactly how high this sucker is going to go. Because based off of my Elliott wave count, this looked like the 1, this looked like the 3, and then this looked like the 5. And then we sold off from that. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that it's not possible that my Elliott wave count's wrong, because that's also a possibility. But really, what I'm seeing is an early market cycle. We just broke out of that all-time high mark. We come back down and retested support right in that range that I was watching for, and now we're getting a nice bounce out of that. And so realistically, if Binance Coin can break out of its descending resistance right here, that's bullish. That means we're going to most likely have another leg up, except the next leg up's probably going to be a little bit more impulsive than even this one. With this volume coming in here, it's apparent to me that this is an early market cycle. Even if this is the top now, this is the 1, 3, and the 5 before we start the 3 wave. And so no matter what way you go about, I don't think you can go wrong holding Binance Coin. Binance Coin, they're just launching their American exchange, I think in a couple days. I think they launched it either yesterday or today, actually. And so they're now going to be ushering in new American citizens with the upcoming regulations and all of the confusion that happens with that. And so Binance Coin being the exchange of the future, most likely, they're getting ready to launch their decentralized exchange even. I think you can't go wrong buying and holding some of this. Now, for me personally, this is a coin that I wouldn't necessarily be trying to day trade as much. You still easily can. I'm not saying don't do that, but this is one that I would personally be looking to buy and hold for the duration of the bull market, because I think that exchange tokens are going to perform very well, specifically Binance Coin. And so for this, I'm just watching this descending break in resistance. Once we can break out of that, then that really does signal that this next leg up is upon us, and that would be most likely your best time to be buying, because it's a little bit risky right now. We did just sell off a little bit, so until we break out of that descending resistance, I would just personally be watching from the sidelines. But overall, a great setup, a good long-term hold, a good coin that you can really count on just because it is an exchange tokens. People get trading fees knocked off by using Binance Coin and by holding it. So there is a major incentives for people to hold this coin. I really debated whether or not I was even going to talk about this coin on here. But the fact that I was thinking about not talking about it usually just means that it's about to moon soon. So this is Bitcoin SV. If you guys do not know, this is the hard fork of Bitcoin blockchain, except this is Craig Wright's hard fork version. Now, Craig Wright is a fraud. He claims to be Satoshi Nakamoto, really annoying type of character. But he has a coin that's most likely going to pump. I don't know if he's more hated than Roger Ver. I know that he's probably significantly more hated than Roger Ver, so I would assume that this thing's probably going to pump. Now, what I'm seeing, 1, 3, and then 5, with an ABC correction back down and a buyback. So really, this looks pretty good, in my opinion. I think that this one has real profit potential coming up, and it looks as if we've broken from descending resistance. This one doesn't really have clear defined descending resistance, but we did break out of an ABC retrace, and we have maintained a higher high. So as long as we break out of probably about $135 and hold support above there, I'm bullish. Now, what looks to me like what's going on with this cycle is this looks just like a one wave, right? before we have the next impulsive cycle, which would be the 3. Now, that's what I'm watching out for. And with these early market cycles, especially with this good volume have, this looks really solid. Now, the cool thing about Bitcoin SV is if you guys remember in the early days, the first Bitcoin cash run was very, very parabolic. Keep in mind that also came during the 5 wave of Bitcoin's end rally, where the most money was flooding into it. But at the same time, the next wave based off Elliott wave theory on Bitcoin SV is the 3 wave. So realistically, this still has tons of profit potential for a very parabolic run. Now, I'm not going to sit here and try and draw a target, but if we go up and throw the fibs and take a look here, the 1618 takes us to roughly about $382. So if the next impulse is the same size as the last one, you're looking at a target of about 380. But if we have an overextended one that doubles the first wave, which generally happens with the 3 wave, you're looking at roughly $600. And so this one has a lot of profit potential. This is one of those coins that everybody that was holding Bitcoin got for free, and then a lot of people sold them in these bottoms before it pumped really hard. And so I think that people are riding off this coin. I think that it's more likely than not it's going to pump with the rest of the market. I don't see why it wouldn't. More likely than not, it's going to pump harder than the rest of the market because so many people hate it. And so with this, I think that Craig Wright has a chance to really manipulate his own coin, holding a lot of the supply. And so I think that it has a lot of potential for this next leg up. You can't really go wrong waiting for the confirmed trend reversal down here. I think that once we clear $135 and start making a higher high, that's your go for accumulation. And that's at least how I would be playing it. So that one's Bitcoin SV. Alright guys, next up is Stellar Lumens, and I can't tell you how excited I am to see this sucker finally going up. Now the thing about Stellar, I was looking at this at the very bottom and I was thinking about buying it because it had roughly the same risk to reward ratio as XRP and they pumped together. And I was buying XRP and I knew they'd pump together, but I didn't want to try and catch a falling knife, decided not to pull the trigger, and now this is the top leading altcoin, up over 40% from the low. So this looks very good overall. Now we're just coming into contact with that first resistance of that support that we sold through, and we are technically piercing above back up into that, and so that's a bullish sign overall. Now watching this, we still have to wait for this to close, and it's very possible the sellers are going to knock this back down below this support zone, but I do like the buyback. This is a very clear bullish engulfing candlestick. If we drop it to a weekly, it'll make more sense. Clear bullish engulfing. Now I would like to see this body of the candle close relatively bullish. If we can close back within this resistance, then that's going to be very bullish, and I would expect an immediate buyback candle from that close. And so with Stellar, I think that with this breaking out of these lows, a lot of the other altcoins that were doing the same, making another leg lower, which a lot of you didn't expect. I didn't expect it. I think that it's going to signal the early signs of that reversal happening. Now, with Stellar Lumens, what I'm watching and what I've been watching for is just a wait for the breakout of this descending resistance. We've been rejected once, twice, 3 times, and now we're coming back within that. Now that the buyback's coming in here, it's looking a lot stronger, but we need a strong daily close or a weekly close so that can really set the stage for the coming breakout. So this is what I'm going to be watching out for with Stellar. Overall, we got the biggest market cap mover of about 40% in this market. It really led the way with Ripple and Ethereum. And so what I'm really watching out for is we need to break out of this descending resistance. I'm not going to be buying any until we can break out of that, just because it's a little bit more of a risky bet. Same reason why I didn't try and catch a falling knife. Anyways, guys, this was the video I had for you. I wanted to go through and cover the top 10 alts for you. These were the top 10 alts by market cap. I wasn't going to talk about Bitcoin SV, and I was going to replace it with ADA or even Monero. But it being a top 10 alt, I figured I'd talk about it because maybe there's some people in my Discord that hold it. I think that with these alts setting up, we're very close to that next leg up coming in the cycle. We might have a short little build-up period before then, but now is a great time to be looking to catch short-term retraces of the bull trend, because now is a great time to maximize that profit potential. With coins being so low early on in their cycles, you have a great opportunity to make a lot of profit in this next move up. So pay attention, make sure you make sure you create your trading plans and have a plan in place before you're ever taking a trade. Most of my trades are long-term holds at this point, and so I'm not really doing a lot of day trading until market conditions improve. So that's the way that I'm trading this. But I wanted to go over, show you guys my thoughts, my perspective with the top 10 altcoins. Most of them are following roughly the same cycle, and so I didn't need to go into too much detail. You guys know my thoughts. You guys know with what I'm rocking with, and so for that, thank you all so much for the support. I will catch you in the next video. As always, peace out.